Good evening. I call this meeting of the Gloucester Community Preservation Committee to order at 6:03 p.m. on July 19th. In accordance with state open meeting law, this meeting has been posted as a Zoom meeting, will be recorded by video and audio, and will be conducted by remote participation. If you are calling in on a phone, you can press *9 to request to speak. If you are watching on a computer or a device via Zoom, there is a raise hand button that you can tap or press to request to speak. Please use either of these options to be recognized to speak. Committee members in attendance tonight include Bill Cuff, Bob Whitmarsh, Hank McCarl, Terry McKenna, Mark Poulin, and Harry Hoglander. Not in attendance this evening are Jennifer Lee Aronson-Levitt and Rob Gullah. Should either of them attend later, we will recognize them at that time. With that, we will proceed to the first item on tonight's agenda, which is the review and approval of our last meeting's minutes, which were taken on June 28th. Those minutes have been distributed prior to this. We have had one very small change to the draft minutes, which was to change the word "with" to "will" in the sentence in the middle of the Sageford Park hockey rink paragraph. Are there any other changes to the minutes that anyone has noticed and would like to bring forward?
Nope, I'm good.
All right, seeing none.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from our meeting of June 28th, 22.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes. We'll do a roll call vote. Carrie?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Hank?
Mark me as an abstention because I wasn't here for that meeting.
Mark?
Well, I don't think I got them.
Oh,
So I guess-
I sent them on Thursday. But if you want to abstain, I think we're going to have 5 votes in favor. So
Okay, I will abstain. I do not see them.
Got it. They're on the same thread where I sent the agenda for this. I sent the agenda and then I sent the minutes subsequent to that.
Okay, and I don't have that either. So I will double check.
Okay, I'll send a copy to you to confirm.
Okay.
Bob?
Yes,
Harry? Harry, you are on mute. Harry, there you go.
Yes, I just might have in the minutes, there were questions asked, and at the end, maybe we can go over that.
Okay. Matt, yes, minutes are approved with the one-word modification. Jamie, if you can send me the updated Word file, I'll get it onto the website. All right. With that, we move into our presentations. The large majority of the rest of this meeting will be the last 5 presentations of our 2022 applicants for funds. We will go in the order that has been previously published. First up this evening will be the West Gloucester Trinity Congregational Church Restoration Project. With us tonight to represent the church is, and let's see, that would be, hold on a second. I see a couple people. Would that be
Steve
Steve? Yeah, I'm sorry, last name Steve what?
Ludwig.
That's probably Steve Cady on this, so I'm going to promote Steve to this.
Steve Cady is with the Rotary Club.
Okay. I do not see, I see Adria Pratt.
Adria is with the Rotary as well.
Okay. Alice Erickson.
Mm-mm.
No. Joe Shalino is here for Stageford Park.
Steve is expecting to come on at 6:15. So
Yeah, I had emailed him and asked him to be ready by 6:05. So we can wait a little bit more. I also have Tracy Arabian and
That's Rotary.
got it.
Did Harry have some questions that he wanted to bring up after or about the minutes? I was confused.
Well, one of the questions I had when I reread the minutes was, I think I had asked, I don't know who the liaison is to the hockey rink, whether they were going to charge admission or it was going to be free for Gloucester residents and admission for outsiders. And nobody ever gave an answer to that. So I was wondering whether if anybody had contact with them, whether they got an answer.
Well, Harry, the hockey rink, I am the liaison. And my understanding that I thought was incorporated in the minutes, that there was going to be a mixture of those people using it for free, as well as people being charged, and that they had not actually come to a determination on exactly how they were going to break that down. And I think, Mark Poulin, you probably have experiences with other organizations like this in the city, because I think you brought up the fact that it was going to be done like some of the other organizations.
Well, some offline conversations I've had with them, it is a pay structured league. Most of the league is a pay structure kind of thing. They do offer some, there's some free things for underprivileged and other things that I think that I know that they've had. I remember reading that somewhere. Matter of fact, I think it was in the narrative. It may have been in some details in there about that. So but it is a you have to pay for referees and things, you know. Right.
Well, I
Yeah.
thought that was in connection to the follow-on question that somebody said, how is this going to be maintained? What funds are going to be used to maintain it? In my notes, I don't have an answer to that. Perhaps I missed it, but I don't have an answer to that.
Okay. And I think these are some very good points that we need to have clarified prior to making a decision on their application.
And this is a repeat cycle for them, right? So were any of those things captured around the first cycle? You said, I mean, you know, this is a repeat. Right.
Right.
This is kind of round two here, so I didn't know.
Only Harry and Bob were on the committee when that was,
I
and but Mark, if you wouldn't mind taking to them and to ask them that question, that'd be great.
All right.
You are the liaison, right?
No, I
No.
am.
Bill,
Oh, you are, Bill, sorry.
I'm familiar. I know them personally, but
Right. Bill, if you wouldn't mind taking that ball, that'd be great.
I will be happy to.
So back to West Gloucester Trinity Congregational, Reverend Rona Tyndall is on the presentation. Rona, I'm going to put you on to talk, and if you'd like, I can promote you to a full participant, and you should be ready to go.
I'm here.
Good evening.
Can you see me?
I'm going to promote you to a full participant, and then we will be able to see you. So hold on.
Okay. All right.
You see your all right. Yep. We can see your screenshot, but not your video, but we can hear you.
Oh. Okay. Hold on. There.
It's Steve using Rona's. Got it. There we go.
I'm not Steve at all. I'm Rona.
Now you're Steve.
Okay. Good. All right. My next thing is
Your video is off. You'll need to turn that off.
video is off.
And there you are.
There you are.
Welcome.
Good night. I have my presentation, but I don't know how to get it on there for you.
Okay. So I'll tell you that, but before we get to that point, let me just remind you, and we'll remind all the other presenters tonight. We ask that you keep your presentation to a maximum of 5 minutes. We'd like to spend 10 or 15 minutes, or maybe even more, with questions and answers and discussion about your project. So with that in mind, are you using a computer? Yeah, you're using a computer, Steve. So if you hover over the Zoom window at the bottom of the screen, there's a number of icons. One says share screen.
That ain't it. Okay, hold on.
You do not have a share screen icon?
I clicked on something, now I see my presentation, but there you go, hold on. Let me get out of it. All right, share screen.
Mhm.
play, shape, stop, text, pictures, share screen.
Should recognize Bob before we start.
I will.
Okay, thank you.
While we're waiting for Steve to start his presentation, I'd like to recognize that Rob Gullah has joined the meeting. Jamie, if you could just make sure you note that in the minutes.
All right,
You, Mr. Chairman, sorry I was late.
No problem, Rob. We approve minutes and we're just about to have our first presentation from the West Gloucester Trinitarian Congregational Church.
Excellent.
You're doing great, Steve. We're almost ready to go.
can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, is Alice Erickson online?
Just a minute. Yes, she is. I'll promote her to a panelist as well.
Please.
Alice should now be a panelist.
Alice, can you hear me?
She's muted. There we go.
Hi, Alice, are you on?
Yes, I am.
Oh, good. Thank you for joining me. I want to thank you, the committee, for having us get this far. And I'm looking forward to giving you a quick synopsis of what we're looking to do. As we start, I have to apologize for my I guess my technical stuff on this, on the PowerPoint. Kind of looks like Wayne's World on cable TV. I want to say our purpose is to restore and rehabilitate the church building in order to continue the future use of one of the oldest established churches in Gloucester. What we're looking for, we have plenty of work to do. We've had a couple of general contractors. We've decided on one, and it'll be Anthony Gigoloni and his company. There are several areas I want to look at, and if we go through this, the first thing I would like to share with you is the sanctuary entrance. One of the things we've been able to do is the steps itself, you may not be able to see them. Can you see my pointer?
Yeah.
No. The stairs itself to the front door has been mostly repaired by a mason. And the cost of the project was $6,000, and we've already paid for that. The door and the door frame needs some paint and repair. And that's just one of the things I wanted to share with you here. I'm going to go through basically the areas we're looking to, why we need, we're looking for funding. The second one is a stairway to the history room and storage. One of the things is the banisters do not meet the codes. Apparently, we built this place, well, it's over about 100 years old. But the thing is, there's not we're not up to code in several areas. And that's one of the things we want to take care of today, or have you be aware of, so we can take care of it in the next 3 years. Water damage, there's some of that. We improved the roof 8 years ago, I think. And this is still, we still have some damage that needs to be restored. The attic, although it's watertight now, there's areas that bats and animals can get in, and you can see right here in the center the view of the vents, and going to the outside is just that air. There's no screens, there's no window, there's not anything. The parking lot looks good from this angle, but there's multitude of divots and areas that we can either patch it up or replace it, so that we don't have anyone sue us for tires being ripped. Here's some more. We got a quote for trees. Several trees need to be taken down. There's X's on each one of them. One quote we got was around $10,000. Another quote we got was around $4,500. More trees. Areas that we've already improved in the past 2 years, in fact. One is a meditation garden that we put in the back. The meditation garden, as you can read here, it was supposed to be a labyrinth, but it turned into like this. Was created by volunteers at the beginning of COVID-19 pandemic and is open to the public and available for classes such as yoga. We have Saturday morning yoga from 8 to 8:30 to 10. Knitting is the knitting company that it's called. What's the name called?
Coveted yarn.
That's right, Coveted Yarn, and whatever else a group might use for the purpose. We have kids get-togethers back here, and it's a nice, clean space to use. We also had this. It was nothing but just grass, and what we decided to do with this was we call it the Sacred Grove, and we had a mason come in and a landscaper come in to redesign this to turn us into an area that's a little more communal and fun to be around. And I'll read this. The Sacred Grove was recently renovated through a grant from the Southern New England Conference of the United Church of Christ to address the 2020's twin pandemics and racism and COVID-19. It is open to the community for workshops, lectures, and gatherings addressing social justice issues. And so far, we have welcomed the Cape Ann Slavery Project, which went extremely well. We have the fire pit going, so it's interesting how many adults can gather around a fire pit and listen to the most important things we can focus on here in our society while they're roasting marshmallows. You should see the looks on their faces. It's quite remarkable and open to everybody.
Steve, I don't mean to hurry you along, but you're running a little long and we'd love
Am I
to get
long?
to the discussion.
All right. And one of the things we also do is we provide a lot of services in the community for from the Open Door to Action and the Grace Center and North Shore Health Project. And we use this bin and other means to have missions each month. And we've also given food away every Saturday. And in late September and October, we have a pumpkin patch. We sell pumpkins. So that's the gist of it. We're asking for a considerable sum of money. And I know there's a lot of companies and organizations that are looking for a share. So I welcome any questions.
Okay.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it. Committee, I'm going to ask my standard couple of questions first. Steve, in your application, you had specified that the total project cost is $275,000 and that you were asking for $175,000 from the CPC. Has that changed?
Yes, it has. As I'm going through the list of things that we've accomplished already and paid for, the price, as much as we'd like to have that, based on what we have in our funds and what's available, we're asking for $100,000.
Is the total project cost still 175?
Yes.
Great. Has the schedule changed? In the application, it looked like you were planning to do the majority of the work in the first quarter, the first half of 2023.
2023, well, we were trying to get started sooner. One of the major projects we needed to do was the electrical, so that we are not only up to code, but extremely safe. A lot of the stuff that we have between the sanctuary and the roof is tube and wire. And the tube and wiring is not only outdated, but it's dangerous. We got a couple of estimates, and neither of them are inexpensive. They're in the $30,000 range. That's probably the first priority.
Okay. And I'll just mention one more thing and then I'll open it to the committee for additional questions. Should we decide to award a grant to the church, the earliest those funds are available is March of 2023. And we can't backdate things that they're used for because these are public funds. They need to, we just make the recommendation, the city council has approved, needs to approve them, and they don't make those approvals until February of next year at the earliest. We and they frown on actually releasing or earmarking funds for something they haven't approved yet. They like to have the final say on it.
Okay.
And that's
I
the
understand.
way the law works.
All right.
Okey doke, committee, questions? Put your hand up or just chime in. Mark Poulin has a question. Mark?
Is there an itemized project, a budget list? I was looking on Neighborly, it just has like the totals. Is there like a breakdown of, electrical, trees?
I have, there is an actual one that's being tabulated by our general contractor, Anthony Gigloni. We have several things that have got, I've got numbers here, but a hard copy certainly would be what you're looking for.
Right, yeah, I think in consideration of, say, any partial funding or something like that, we could at least see kind of what could get done or something like that if the total amount wasn't granted or something, right? Another question I have is, do you think with the water damage that there might be some, any other hidden, say, mold remediation or, can of worms kind of things in that area?
I suspect there could be. And one of the things that we had put in here, where was that? It was not an estimate. There was an estimate on the drainage, which is required for the basement. And that we've gotten the water out of it. And now we're going through, there's more mildew than mold. And that's a good thing. We have Tony Gigloni working on that with, let me get his name. JP Campbell Plumbing will be working on that one. How many more? No more information than that right now.
Thank you.
Mark, anything else?
No, that's good, thank you.
Before I recognize Bill, who's the next person with his hand up, Steve, please do get us a detailed budget. A spreadsheet is fine. You can email it to me and I'll post it if that's an easiest way for it to do it. And I'll add one more thing. This application has been submitted as a historic preservation application. We can only fund we can only fund, even if it's a larger project, line items that are specifically targeted at historic preservation. For example, we can't do anything with your fire pit or the Grove or anything like that. That's not an historic asset. When you send in the line items, we need to know very specifically what they're for in your budget.
Understood. I thought just working on the structure itself, these other things are ancillary now, but they were at the time, until we had our place inspected by Jim Tebow, we had some opportunities to seize the moment and get some projects done around the outside, and it made a difference. Now we're looking at what we need to do on the inside.
Thank you. Bill, you're up.
Steve, just a couple of questions, but I was reviewing your website. It looks like, did you get married there at the church in the back? Is that you in the photo?
Yes, sir. I married the minister.
Oh, okay. My question, I have a couple of questions. First of all, the application, it's being submitted by the church or is it being submitted by WGTCC?
It's the same thing. West
Oh, it is.
Gloucester
Okay.
Trinitarian Congregational Church, United Church of Christ.
Okay, got it. Thank you. And then the second thing is, I know it's the oldest established church in Gloucester, according to, to the information you provided. But on the required documentation on the Neighborly site, I didn't see anything submitted for anything, including the documentation that it is has been recognized as an historic site.
Okay. I had it from the state. I know that we've gotten information from the city that it is a historic site. And I can promise you that I'll have the actual name of the church. And it's got like 4 different addresses consecutive, like 480 to 488 Essex Ave as being the property. And it is a historic site. I'll make sure you have that. We all have that.
Okay, yeah, thank you. And I don't know if there's any other documentation that you think we should see. But they mentioned the budget, et cetera. That would be helpful.
Will do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
That's it, Bill?
That's it.
Yep. Just to reiterate what Bill said, Steve, for historic preservation projects under the CPA statute, the item that's being considered for funding needs to be in the Massachusetts Registry of Historic Places, or it needs to be recognized as historically significant by the Gloucester Historical Commission. So we need that. We need you to show us that.
I will
One
have
or
a
the other.
copy of it by the end of the week.
Great. Carrie, you're up next.
Hi there. So yes, so I was concerned about the documentation as well. There didn't seem to be anything uploaded. So I think not only do we need the historic piece of it, but I would think we would want to see a site plan and some plans of the property, and what's to be done, what changes are to be made, what additions. On that itemized list of exactly what you're going to be doing, I think it's important to provide that, which you've already said. But you also need to be aware, since you are a religious organization, that you're not submitting for anything that is going to directly relate to worship. So we would not be able, if there's an altar in there, we would not be able to give you funding to update or restore that altar. It does get pretty tricky when we work with some of these historic churches. So that's something that you just need to be aware of as you're pulling together all of your information.
Thank you, Carrie. In fact, I made it a point to not put anything in there. The sanctuary is not anything that we are asking for funding for. Anything that we're asking for is on the peripheral sides, the staircases, the front entrance, the steps, things of this nature. So there's nothing of a religious nature in any case. In fact, how we use the space outside, and one of the reasons why it's important to the community is that we have these spaces available now, the fire pit, for example, and the meditation garden out back is for public use. So there's
so that's great. So just in the itemized list that you send, again, we will see that. If that's the case, we will be able to see that. But just make sure that you're detailed and that you give us that information. And then one more question. I think Matt, you asked him about the total. I think that the total is 275, not
Yes,
175.
that's correct. Well, I'm looking at things that we have as a budget and what we're able to do. And as much as I'm asking for, I know that you have to spread this money around, and I don't want to feel
Right, but no, I know that you said that your portion is now coming down from 175 to 100, but the total of expenditures, is that still 275? That's what was on the application.
It is going to end up being about $275,000.
All right. That's it.
Thanks, Carrie. Hank.
Yeah, we've been challenged on these things before in terms of whether it supports religious activities or not. So we need to make sure that we have somebody to look at that that allows us to differentiate on that. There are some folks, we've made a point of the fact that we've got an awful lot of very significant historic churches in town. And we've tried to always separate out, as Carrie has pointed out, those things that directly affect the religious activities and those things that are basically to help in the community with community service. And occasionally we've given grants for window restorations and various other things. So just be sure that that we separate anything out, as Carrie pointed out, that would indicate some sort of support of the religious activities. Thank you.
I certainly understand that, Mr. Hoagland.
Yeah.
That won't be I can assure you that's just the way it's going to be.
Thanks, Hank. I've got a couple more questions. I don't see any other hands raised. Steve, in the application, when the full project was, you were requesting 175 from us. The other $100,000 was in the notes saying that that money was going to come from the sale of 15 acres to Greenbelt. Is that still the plan, and what's the status of that?
That is the plan. We've received the money already, so that's a done deal. So the church has done very good to keep that land that's in West Gloucester off of Bray Street in the hands of the conservation agency instead of having somebody buy it up as a developer. So we can still use it for the public use when doing hiking and stuff.
Got it.
Yeah.
And before I turn this back over to Harry, who's got a question, I have one other one. When you send in the budget, could you also send in some information on any of the major contractors that you are going to be using for the project?
Addresses and contractor numbers.
Great.
Okay.
Perfect. Harry.
So I don't want to beat this to death, but I'm an ardent student of Kaplan versus City of Acton and the SJC case that came down about 3 or 4 years ago regarding monies that are taxpayer monies that go to religious organizations. We've covered several of the areas. However, I'll just give you some of my observations. When I went on your website, it seemed to emphasize worship rather than other things. And my problem with that might be these funds would be freeing up funds that the church or the body would use to engage in other religious programs. I don't know how we would ever track that. My other observation is, I think it was emphasized before, that many of these things have names like the Sacred Grove. And I found that some of the presentation here was areas that were outside the church or outside the scope of historical preservation. So I just want to emphasize that to you in of things that I had noticed in your application. I don't have a particular question with that, except that I'll probably re-engage again with the committee, emphasizing the FJC decision, which I just talked about before, Kaplan versus Acton. Thank you.
Thank you. If I can just be clear on that. The Sacred Grove has already been paid for. We're not asking for money for that. We're not asking for money for the things that we've already generated capital for. What we're looking for, the building itself needs to be restored. It's an old building, and a lot of it's been neglected and overlooked. The bones are good. I don't need a new steeple. We don't need a new steeple. We need some little repair at the top there. But the wood is strong. It's safe. I ring it every other Sunday, and the bell every other Sunday. So I understand the idea that it's public funds and not to be used for church or religious practices. And I agree with that. And I think we all agree with that. The money will not be used for anything of that nature. And I want you to know that I agree with you 100%. That's not what we're looking for. We have, every mission we have has a separate budget. So we know where the money's going when you have the money for the refugees. All the money's going for the refugees from Afghanistan. It's not going to another group of people from Uganda. That's another fund we have. These funds are specific, and we don't rob from one to pay for the other. And all the money is used properly. And so we perfectly understand your feelings about it, and probably most people.
Thank you, Steve. Harry, anything else?
No, that's it.
Great. Seeing no additional hands raised, I think we're good for this evening. Steve and Alice, thank you for your time and your presentation. We appreciate it.
And thank you.
Matt, thank you for having us. Thank you,
All
everybody.
righty. Thanks. All right. So that concludes our first presentation for tonight. The second one is from Harbor Light Community Partners, represented by Andrew Leonard, for the Main Street Affordable Housing Project at 252, 256 Main Street. I am promoting Andrew to panelist right now, so hopefully in a few seconds he'll be able to join us.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Hello, Andrew. Yes, we can.
Hi, excellent. So why don't I go ahead and I'll share my screen.
Yeah.
Don't be scared off by the number of slides. I'm not going to go through each one.
Thank you for that.
So I'll start by saying thank you. I appreciate the attention already given to our application and the invitation to present here tonight. I also want to note that in addition to myself, we're joined by Bob Gillis, who I think is on. I can't quite see. He's a Gloucester, well-known about Gloucester, and he is the Harbor Light Community Partners Board President. I believe he's on with us. And I myself am a project manager with Harbor Light who'll be working on this project. So just to tell you a little bit about it, what we're proposing is supportive senior housing right on Main Street in Gloucester. Harbor Light does a lot of this sort of work across the North Shore and on Cape Ann. We typically like to be not only the developers of building, but we like to stay around and own it and manage it and help with the service coordination. I'll tell you a little bit more about what we have planned, but it fits right in our wheelhouse with what we do of matching supportive services with affordable housing. And with all of our projects, we seek to do high quality development that leverages energy efficient design, state-of-the-art design, which is going to be particularly important here. And then one of the key factors of what we're proposing here is a deeply affordable place for seniors to live. So if you're familiar with our application, if you've had a chance to read it, you probably noticed that we were a little thin on some of the early documents, particularly around site control and some other things. And that's sort of the nature of where we were in the process. The Gloucester Housing Authority put out a request for proposals to develop this land. It's Gloucester Housing Authority land kind of between Middle Street and Main Street there. And at the time we applied, we wanted to sort of hit the ground running. We hadn't been awarded the RFP yet. So we didn't officially have site control. Since we submitted our application, we have been awarded that RFP. We're very happy to say, and we're really excited to work with the Gloucester Housing Authority. So we're now in the process of finalizing a development services agreement and transferring site control. So just really quickly, we've got developments across Cape Ann and the North Shore, similar to what I said earlier, matching real deeply affordable senior housing with critically needed supportive services, so that seniors and families, in this case, we'll be talking about seniors, but so that seniors have a terrific place to live, and also so that we can be good neighbors to the folks around us. So in terms of what we're proposing here, it would be 20 one-bedroom units, about 650 square feet each. All of them at least visitable in terms of ADA guidelines. Target population being low-income seniors with service needs. We'd be targeting about 30% of the area median income. The RFP put out by the Housing Authority really stressed the need for building in services, particularly congregate meals. So the proposed conceptual plans that I'll show you have about 2,000 square feet of community space for the resident seniors. Kitchen space, congregate meal space, some lounge space, laundry spaces, things like that. There'll also be outdoor recreation space, 16 parking spaces, and offices for on-site service provision. I'll give you a quick look at what some of our renderings look like. So let me show you the site plan. Here's just a quick rendering. And to give you a sense of where this is, if you know Nelson's right on Main Street, that's this building here, if you can see my cursor. Over here is the Black Bear Barbershop. So this lot right here, where the building would go, is currently vacant. There's sort of a rock wall in the back that we wouldn't develop on. And then this would be a 3-story building. So you can see there'd be parking on the first floor with common spaces just about a half floor up. And then the second and third floors would be units with laundry and some staff space. I can send these around. I won't spend time going through them now, but you can get a sense of elevations in the units. So like I said, this area is in the flood zone. We're always being pushed to do more with energy affordability, energy efficiency. So that'll all be baked into the design. What's going to be really important is tying these units into services, whether that's with our own coordination, or we've had some discussions with Pace Element Care about bringing them in to potentially provide some services. So I'll get down to the financing here. Our idea is that this would be financed with state vouchers and low-income housing tax credits, along with state debt. That's basically state subsidy with Federal Home Loan Bank. And then of course, we're requesting $200,000 from the CPC, which obviously the $200,000 is a pretty modest amount compared to the expected size of the budget. But it's really critical. In construction these days, every dollar counts as prices continue to go up. Now interest rates are squeezing what we can do on the permanent loan side of things, on the mortgage side. But also, I think that more importantly is the allocation of local money allows us to go to the state and say, look, we've got community buy-in, and that really leverages us to be able to get some of that state subordinate debt and some of these vouchers that make an affordable service, affordable building like this possible. So that's why we've requested $200,000 there. And in terms of next steps, we're still at the early stages here. I should say quickly on this slide, the funds from the CPC would go towards hard construction costs only, so actual building costs. It wouldn't go towards any soft costs. It would be drawn at the end of the project, basically once the building is nearly substantially complete. So in terms of where we are right now, we're working on the development services agreement with Gloucester Housing Authority. We're going to start due diligence activities. This will have to go through a zoning approval process because it will require some variances for density. And then we'll start the state funding process as soon as possible. And again, having the local funding really helps us leverage that funding. So I'll stop there so we can go to questions.
Great, thank you, Andrew. I'm going to suspend my usual first questions about budget because I think we'll probably get to more of those questions on budget later. I do want to just ask one before I open it up to the committee, which is, has your schedule changed at all now that the RFP has been awarded to Harbor Light?
No, we were assuming around this, summer is when the award would be made, and we would start the due diligence activities and some of the early survey work. So we're still looking at the same schedule that we put in the application. There are definitely contingencies around that, right?
Yep.
Whether or not we find environmental issues, whether or not funding gets awarded from the state the first time we apply or not. But we're still projecting our current application schedule.
Okay, great. All right. I will open it up to the committee for questions. Bill Cuff, you have your hand up first. Go ahead.
Okay, I think I'm off, I'm mute. Okay, Andrew, thank you for your presentation. And it seems like an excellent project. Senior housing is needed in Gloucester. You answered my most important question was, did you get the award, which you did? But hearing you this evening and looking at your application, am I understand that construction's going to start in October 1st of 24, based on your timeline, and you're looking for payment in around December of 25 or maybe even January of 26?
Yeah, I think probably a little bit earlier than that, right? But it's, the reason we draw on CPC funds later in projects is, so that we can, there's assurances that, because the CPC is a grant is not going to have the same sort of guarantees that, a permanent loan would have or a construction
Correct.
loan would have on the property. So we draw it when there's basically no risk of the project being finished.
Right. And the reason, yeah, and I understand this, and I liked your comment about having local money committed helps you when you go to banks. But sitting here and thinking about how we're allocating money right now for 2023. And we have probably about, and these are just ballpark numbers, probably $1 million that we can allocate, and we probably have about $1.5 million in requests. So I'm thinking that maybe this is an application that we should be approving in 24 for 24, not 23. That's one thing that I'm thinking.
That's a good question, and one I expected. I think the trouble is, the sooner we are able to secure local funds, the sooner we're able to secure state funds. So if we go to the state, they're going to say, well, what does Gloucester think of this project, right? They don't want to put any skin in the game here. So we're kind of caught in this difficult place where the project gets pushed out if we aren't able to secure local funding first. But I certainly understand the predicament it puts you in as well.
Right. And what if we allocated you less money, less than the 200,000? It was a number, 50 or 100, where we showed some type of commitment, but we can use the money more for projects that are being completed in 2023.
Yeah, I mean, that's not unusual. You'll get familiar with my face coming back around, but that's not unusual.
Okay. And then one last question. I know Harbor Lights is going to continue as the property manager and the longtime owner, but what happens if Harbor Lights sells this?
That's another. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be in our missional intent to sell a building like this, right? But no one's gonna take a guarantee of our well wishes on this, right? We want to get it on paper. So we would first of all, the land would still be owned, and we'd be leasing it from the housing authority.
Okay.
But we would agree to an affordability commitment for a term of at least 30 years.
Yeah. And what does that mean? Could you just briefly explain that? The affordability restriction, and why 30 years, not indefinitely?
I mean, 30 years is typical for something like this. Sometimes it goes up to 45, but basically it restricts, say there was a foreclosure, right? And a bank came in, it would restrict what they could do with it or what anyone could do with it. They couldn't all of a sudden make it a market rate development.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Appreciate it. That's all I had, Matt.
Thanks, Bill. Carrie.
So my question was actually quite similar to what Bill was saying. I was curious to know how important the community, what you termed the community buy-in, was for you to get all of this state funding. And it sounds like it is pretty important. Is that an accurate statement?
Yeah, it's very important. The state likes to see award letters when we submit our
Okay.
one-stop application.
So are there other ways for you to get community buy-in that do not include a monetary value, doesn't have money, letters from different organizations or from the city? Or is it purely a financial package that they're looking for as a quote unquote buy-in?
I won't say it's purely financial, but I will say it's very difficult for a project to receive state funds without local money.
Okay. All right, and then one more question, which again, I think Bill touched on, but if we were to award you less, like at what point does that buy-in kick in? Does that credibility kind of kick in? Is it 200,000 or is it 50,000? Like if we were to award you 50,000 this year to try to give some commitment from the city for you to apply for these other funds, and then if you came back for 2024 funding and maybe ask for a little bit more than that, we might be in a better position to be able to dole out a little bit more. Is that helpful, or is that just not enough buy-in support?
It's certainly helpful. I would, if I were to put a number on, I would say 100,000 is more helpful, right? I mean, of course, the higher number is going to be more helpful, but
okay.
Yeah, certainly the commitment is helpful, and then we would be telling the state, we plan to come back in the next round.
Okay. That's it.
Thanks, Carrie.
Thank you.
No one else has their hand up. I'll ask a question. Andrew, when this first came to us, I was a little puzzled, and I'd like to ask you to just speak to it a bit, why this didn't come from the Gloucester Housing Authority. We do get requests for grants from the Gloucester Housing Authority. We've got one this year, which is to do roof replacements at Willowwood Gardens. And my concern was that why should we be allocating a grant to one of possibly multiple bidders on the project? They should all have equal access to the funds, which is a slightly different position now because you've been awarded the RFP. So how, at this point, once you are the project awardee, does Gloucester Housing Authority have any financial skin in the game at all, or are you managing the entire project from a financial standpoint?
Beside a small lease payment that will go to the Housing Authority, we'll be managing the project fully from the financial side. So we'll put all the guarantees on the project, the financial guarantees that we make to lenders and investors will be Harbor-like guarantees. They won't be Housing Authority guarantees. So we'll be kind of doing the full suite of the development throughout and as it relates to the financing of the building.
Got it. Great. My other questions were precisely what Carrie and Bill have asked as well. And I think you've answered them all. So I see no other raised hands. Anybody else have any questions for Andrew? Very well. Andrew, thank you so much for your presentation and for being here. We might have some follow-up questions and we'll just reach you via email if that comes, but your application was very thorough and the documentation that you sent in was great. By the way, committee members, one of the documents that are in Neighborly is, I'm guessing, all of the slides that you had here tonight, and including the ones you didn't use. The document is Gloucester Housing Authority RFP submission. And the drawings in it were really helpful for me because I'm quite familiar with where you're talking about.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak, and I'm happy to answer follow-ups as they come up.
All right, thanks, and good evening.
Thank you, you too.
All right, committee. Next up is the Stageport Park Playground rehabilitation from the Gloucester Rotary Club. I'm going to promote Joe Scialino first, and Joe, once I do, you can let me know who else should be promoted to a panelist. So hopefully this gets Joe on in the next 10 to 20 seconds. Joe is on the way. Got you muted and video off, Joe. So and there he is.
Okay.
Hey, Joe.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Joe.
Hey, Joe.
Nice seeing you all. It's like old familiar territory. I want to, if you could recognize our president, Michael, Dr. Michael, and Andrea is going to do the presentation. And I will be here to answer any questions also.
Great.
So Dr. Mike is our president. So if you could introduce him first, and
Yep.
then he will introduce Adria. Thank you.
Okay, great. Michael is on his way and I'm promoting Adria as well. All right, there we are. Great. Hello, Michael, and hello, Adria.
Hello.
Good. The floor is yours. If you heard my preamble before, we're looking for 5-minute presentations. If you go a minute or two over, that's okay. As long as it's interesting and relevant, and that leaves us plenty of time for questions and answers later. So the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dr. Michael Sarath. I'm a Gloucester Rotary Club president for 22-23. I would like to thank Mr. Koff, Mr. Lundberg, and the rest of the CPC committee for allowing us to present the Stage Fort Park Playground Rehab. There are several key figures tonight as they're coming. Our presenter will be Attorney Adria Bratt. Mr. Steve Cady has a strong background since he started the original playground in 2004. The architecture for this project will be Mr. John Duggar. The others who will spend a lot of time and effort into this is Mr. Patrick Thorpe, Mr. Leo Bergeron, Ms. Tracy Arabian, and obviously you all know Joe Cellino. So they're going to be coming along shortly. So without further ado, Attorney Bratt.
Hello. Thank you, Dr. Mike. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. It is an honor to be here in front of you. We're so excited. Can I share my screen to get a PowerPoint presentation going for you?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Give me 1 second. Okay, can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
All right, fantastic. Okay, so as Dr. Mike said, my name is Adria Pratt. I am a member of the Gloucester Rotary Club and also specifically a member of the 100th anniversary Rotary Project, in addition to all of the lovely folks that Dr. Mike had introduced in his beginning introduction. So this is our presentation for our 100th anniversary project and as it relates to Stage Fort Park Playground. So just a little bit of background on our club and its involvement in Stage Fort Park in general. So the Gloucester Rotary Club will turn 100 years old next year in 2023, which is pretty exciting. And so, you know, the main mission of our club in general is to give back to the community, and specifically with this project, we're hoping to do that as best as we can with upgrading the Stage Fort Park Playground. So Rotary began its involvement with the playground at Stage Fort in 2003 and has continued to contribute to its upkeep, maintenance, and repair since then. Rotary has historically maintained the bandstand at Stage Fort Park. Most recently, we had a Rotarian install a new roof on the bandstand, and we do the landscaping, and over the holidays we do Christmas lights or holiday lights, excuse me. And so we keep and maintain that area in addition to the playground. Members of our club volunteer their time every year to do annual cleanups at both the bandstand and the playground. And Stage Fort Park has, as I'm sure you all know, is a staple in our community. And our club is very excited and honored to be a part of and contribute to our city by upgrading this playground. So a summary of the project, we are hoping to repair the current code compliant playground equipment. So there's currently playground equipment there that is fine. It just needs a little bit of upgrading, which we plan to do. We also plan to replenish the mulch in the front playground area where the main playground equipment is when you first walk into that playground, that first little area. And that will be synthetic mulch, which is specific for playgrounds. It provides cushion. We have also spoken with the city, and the city's on board with helping to remove all of the playground equipment that is currently there that is in disrepair. And there are also several pieces of equipment that are no longer in compliance with state and federal code. So the city is helping us remove those items. We will continue to repair and refinish the picnic tables and the benches that are in that playground area. We will then grade the areas proposed for the new playground equipment, which is currently behind, and I have a plan of the playground, which I will show you in a couple of slides, so I can explain it better. But the playground area, there's two main playground areas. The front area, which is when you first walk in, that has the relatively new, up to code playground equipment. Behind that is what is the older equipment that is no longer safe. And so that area will require getting rid of some ledge and kind of grading and filling those areas in. Once that has been completed, we will then install a new pirate ship playground equipment structure, which I have a picture of and we'll show you later. We're also planning to install a new swing set, which will include a swing along seat for a parent-child duo. So it's a larger seat in which a parent and a baby could swing together. And we are also, also planning to install handicap accessible and code compliant walkways throughout that playground so that someone with a wheelchair could get around that playground without needing assistance. And then lastly, we're hoping to install some new signage that will accommodate multiple languages and also Braille. So the CPA criteria and how our project meets those criteria points, I've just kind of listed a few of them here. We believe that the playground at Stage Fort serves the residents of not only the city of Gloucester, but also Cape Ann as a whole. We also believe that it promotes tourism as a city attraction for families. Stage Fort Park in general, I think, is a tourist attraction. And so to have a nice, clean, safe playground for the families to play on and enjoy, I think, is a huge benefit to the city. It also promotes outdoor and recreational play in a safe environment. It will diversify the playground diversify the playground equipment to attract children of all ages. The playground equipment that is currently there and still in good repair is really for children 5 years plus. And so we were hoping to get some equipment for younger children so that families who have children of varying ages, they're able to watch all the kids at once and be able to be involved as a family as a whole, as opposed to some kids over in one area, other kids over in another area. So we're hoping to kind of be able to incorporate multiple different age brackets there. We have also worked with Ultiplay, I think is the name of the company, who has helped us kind of stage out where the equipment can go. And so the code on a lot of this equipment, there is specific distances from which you have to have all around the equipment for safety purposes. And so we found a way to maximize what I call the buildable space of the playgrounds. So I'm a real estate attorney. Buildable space is kind of my realm, even though I know that doesn't apply necessarily to playground equipment, but we're kind of filling as much as we can and fitting in as much as we can with the space that we have. We are also, as I had said earlier, we are also putting together some new signage and walkways to help promote diversity and acceptance of all, which is also a goal of our club in general. We believe that these improvements will be a vast improvement to the playground as it is now, also a lot safer than what is there now. And if granted the CPA funds, that will comprise 25% of our total budget. I have an itemized budget in the next slide or two, and I will go over that at that point, as that budget has changed from the original application. And then lastly, which doesn't hurt, we do have the endorsement of the current administration. The city seems to be on board, and as I had said earlier, is helping us to remove a lot of that derelict equipment before we start the installation of new equipment. So this is the layout of our proposed new playground, and it's a little hard to see. And I tried to make it as big as I could, but PowerPoint was not allowing me to do it any bigger. I'm not sure if I can zoom in here. Let me see. Oh, no, that didn't work. All right, it's not allowing me to zoom in. Can everyone see my mouse?
Yeah, and committee, the Rotary Club submitted this document in a PDF if you in Neighborly, so we've got a copy of it that you could zoom into on your own computers if you want.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this area, well, I should first say down here is proposed walkway. This is where you're kind of, the old playground is kind of here-ish. And so this here is where we're proposing to put the new swing set. It's a total of 3 swings. It has 2 of the regular swings, and the third is that parent-child duo, or that larger version. Here we are proposing walkways kind of throughout this, additional walkways here. This area here is where we anticipate to put the new pirate ship. Over here is there's a slide and a few benches. Benches will be redone and refinished. This slide here is going to be removed as it's not safe any longer. And then this area here, this is the old, is that the truck? I think that says it's the truck. It's hard for me to even see that. I don't know if you've been to the playground recently, but there is a very old wooden structure that is a truck, which is no longer safe. There's also a ship over here, which is also a wooden structure, which is no longer safe. And so those items we're proposing to remove, and that is part of what the city is helping us do. So that is our plan. This here is our proposed budget. So the application that was submitted back in February said our proposed budget was going to be around $100,000, which is what we had thought. However, given inflation and the way that our world is going these days, prices have increased all around. And so we are looking at for playground equipment, which actually this is the only figure that really hasn't changed. Playground equipment alone, and the installation for that is $57,000. And the estimate of $200,000 is a little bit high, but we would rather estimate a little bit high, given the way that inflation continues to creep up on us. And this was also, or I believe this was also submitted to the board as a PDF as well.
Right.
These are 3 photos of the same equipment. This is the ship. This is what we propose to put in that front area next to where the current wooden ship currently sits. These are just 3 different angles. And then this is the proposed swing set. This is that parent-child duo seat that I was talking about. And then these are just 2 regular swing sets. And that is it. And I will open it up to questions of the board.
Great. Adria, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Sure.
I think you already answered one of my standard questions, which is, has the budget changed? It has, but my understanding, previously you had estimated a total 100,000 and asking the CPC for 50. If I understand correctly, now you're still asking the CPC for 50, but your total project is a $200,000 project now, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Great. That's my only question. Carrie, you have your hand up. You have the floor.
So actually, that was my question as well. Thank you for asking it. But I would like to say what great support from the Rotary Club. I see in the attendees, there's many Rotarians there, and that's wonderful to see that kind of support. I think this was a great presentation, very well put together. And yay for fixing the playground and bringing in some new stuff. It'll be a lot of fun. I look forward to taking my grandchildren there.
Yeah, we're excited. Thank you.
Good job.
Great. Any other committee members with questions? I would like to echo Carrie's note. It's great that you're going to be adding more facilities for younger kids. That's not there now, and that'll be really nice to have.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. All right, Bill, it looks like you're saying something, Bill Cuff, but you're muted.
There you go. No, I just wanted to, for the other newer committee members, I recall a few months back when Pam Toby ran an open session for the community. A number of residents did speak about the need to make improvements to the playgrounds in Gloucester. So again, compliments to the Rotary for stepping up.
Thank you, Bill.
Agreed. All right, well, if there are no other questions, then thank you for a very thorough presentation and the full application. We really appreciate, I think that's the reason why there's not many questions, is that you covered them all in your application materials. So thanks so much for that, everybody from the Rotary Club.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Just for the record, I met with the mayor, Verga, and DPW Michael Hill a couple months ago. So we got their blessing. They're going to help us move a lot of that stuff that we don't have to do it. And I know you were asking the question about the 50,000. Like you said, our budget is 200. Feel free to put in more than the 50,000 that we asked for. So, but again, thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening, everyone. We appreciate your consideration.
Thank you.
All right. So that concludes our third presentation, and we move on to the Cemetery Advisory Committee's project to restore cemeteries this year. I know Christine Maney is here. So Christine, I'm going to promote you to a panelist. This will take a few seconds, and then we can give you the floor. That should be in the process. And Christine, you look muted and video off, so let us know when you can get that on.
Unmute.
There you are. We can hear you.
Good, good. I'm glad you can.
Excellent.
Now I just have to figure out video. Oh, start with video. Okay.
There you are.
Thank you for this opportunity to present, to you all tonight. May I also ask to share a PowerPoint, please?
Absolutely. And you should have the ability to do that now.
Okay. Let me just do slideshow. Just a slide that I wanted to share with you to show you an example of your CPC contributions at work. This is, as you see, a CPA 2021 grant that you gave to us. That is the City Cemetery Advisory Committee. And on the left, you see Dorothy.
I can interrupt you just for a moment, Christine.
Sure.
We're not seeing your screen yet.
Okay. Can you see anything about my screen?
Not yet. I think you need to click the share screen icon at the bottom.
Okay, just a second. Share, so that's here. It's not sign in, so the share. Raise hand. Oh, sorry, there. I'm sharing. Okay, to share.
There it is.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Okay, slideshow.
Good.
You all see it now?
Yes, well done.
Okay, so I just wanted to show you this first slide, just shows you what your contributions do and how successful they have been. On the left-hand side, you see the fragmented Dorothy Robinson headstone that belongs in First Parish Burial Ground. On the right-hand side, you see the restored stone and that has been installed in First Parish. And it's currently now the oldest original stone in First Parish, which of course is the oldest public cemetery in Gloucester. So I just wanted you all to see that kind of wonderful work done with your monies. So to start off with, my interest is Bayview Cemetery, the restoration of this particular cemetery. It was established in 1728. It's a cemetery belonging to Gloucester's third parish. The third parish was also established in 1728. And that the congregation of this parish included inhabitants from Annisquam, Diamond Cove, which was Bayview, Lanesville, and Sandy Bay. With respect to this cemetery, it is 1.15 acres. It's a typical colonial cemetery. It's pasture in its landscape appearance. It is bordered on 3 sides by a stone wall. And on the side that faces Washington Street in Bayview, it's bordered by a cut granite wall. And as I said, it's bordered by Washington Street on the north side, and on the south side, it's bordered by South Kilby. There are about 350 grave sites or more in Bayview. And with respect to its city-owned position, it moved from a private cemetery, again established in 1728, to a city-owned cemetery in 1890. With respect to the reasons for restoration, preservation of a city-owned asset. Bayview Cemetery is considered a historic cemetery by definition and is verified by the Gloucester Historical Commission, as well as I received a letter from the Massachusetts Historical Commission saying that they felt that Bayview actually qualified for the National Registry for Historic Places. So as a city owned asset, it's a public open space, for everyone to walk and to enjoy. Another very important part of this cemetery and all city cemeteries is the cemetery acts as an open, an outdoor museum, meaning that it possesses both artwork and history just out in display for everyone to access and to enjoy. The other thing important about this city-owned asset, it is a treasure trove of information with respect to genealogical research. This cemetery, as well as all the historic cemeteries in Gloucester, also, preserve Gloucester's heritage. For Bayview, the people, that is of the congregation of third parish, many were buried in Bayview, and those surnames that I want to share with you are just a few, but that includes the Lanes, the Norwoods, the Leonards, the Dooleys, as well as the Sargents. So those are just a few of the surnames that you would see. That is the early settlers as well as their descendants located in this particular cemetery. With respect to preservation of colonial and Victorian artwork, I'd like you to see this particular slide and notice that you've got a display of different type and styling of artwork, imagery, symbolism. On the left-hand side, this is sandstone. This is a stone that was erected in 1767. In the middle, you see a slate stone that was erected in 1761. And on the right-hand side is a marble stone, which was erected in 1854. So you can see the variation of artwork and display by the various New England carvers, which provides an incredible amount of colonial artwork and folk art to be viewed by all. The other thing that's important with respect to preservation of gravestones and our historic cemeteries are the epitaphs. So with respect to the art form and the epitaphs, that is the inscriptions, they all leave clues for the present and the future, generations to understand what the regional folk art was like, what the mores were, what the biases, what people thought, of during those times that these particular stones represent. So they have great historical value, and therefore their preservation is very important. The next set of slides will just give you examples of the type of restoration that has to occur within Bayview. I just want to say that when I wrote this application, there were 2 gravestone companies interested in this project, but in late April, one company withdrew because they're overcommitted. And I think some of you realize and know that we have a significant shortage of gravestone restorers. Right now, we do have a company which we work with presently known as Gravesite Preservation, and they're very interested in this project. And we, that is the committee, would like to very much secure a 3-year contract or commitment with this company to ensure that Bayview's restoration is completed. For your budgeting purposes, we are asking for $90,000 contribution from CPC, which would cover a 3-year period. That means that would be a rate of $30,000 a year for 3 years. And this would allow us to secure the restoration company, that is Gravesite Preservation, for a 3-year commitment. I'm just going to zip through these slides so that you can see them and see the types of degradation and restoration that is needed, throughout Bayview Cemetery. This last slide that I want you to see, because in this particular proposal, the total amount is $138,200. Of that, $48,200 is being contributed by either DPW and the volunteers, the cemetery volunteers, with in-kind work. This would be an example of what DPW would be doing to facilitate and preserve and enhance Bayview Cemetery. The granite steps that you see on your left-hand side lead up into the cemetery from Washington Street. And then you notice a knoll of grass that moves upward towards homes, and those homes are on South Kilby. On the right-hand side, I've discovered that there are at least 10 plus 4-foot granite slabs terraced as you walk from the granite steps upward towards South Kilby. DPW has committed to excavate and unearth these granite slabs so that what will end up having is a wonderful path, walkway from Washington Street to South Kilby and vice versa. So residents, visitors can all come and easily walk through this pathway to access the cemetery. I think that does it. I guess I'm open for questions now.
Great. Thank you, Christine.
Uh-huh.
Let's see, you covered an important one. I'll open it to the committee first. I've got a couple myself, but if anybody in the committee would like to go first, be my guest. And seeing no hands, I will ask you my question. If you could just confirm the budget, basically it's harder to get professional restorers to do the work, and prices went up. The original proposal was to do 3 cemeteries, I think, and now we're focusing on Bayview, correct?
It was actually 2. It was Bayview and Cove Hill.
Right.
So 2 things happened in late April. One company withdrew, and then the company Gravesite Preservation walked both properties with me and gave a professional evaluation of the restoration of both Bayview and Cove Hill, or maybe some of you know as Lanes Cove. Cove Hill or Lanes Cove would be a 2-year restoration, and this particular cemetery, it falls under a 3-year because of so much need of restoring so many, most most of the gravestones. They're there. Some are broken, some are fallen off, their bases. Others are just sunken into the ground. So just lifting them up. And the understanding is that these stones are from 300 to 600 to 700 pounds, and so it's not easy work. And even though the cemetery volunteers will be doing footstones and things of that nature, because they're trained to do that, it's still quite an intense, extensive restoration job.
Thanks. The two other questions before I recognize Bill. One is, have you worked with historic preservations before?
Gravesite preservation?
Gravesite preservations, yeah. Have you worked
Yes.
with them before?
Yes, they're the company that I showed you that first slide. They're the ones that completed all the work on the CPA 2021
Right.
grant for First Parish, and they're now doing I received a grant from Schwab for 33 veterans restorations in 4 different cemeteries, and he and another group are working on that. And then he also did the work for a grant, Cape Ann Community Foundation, which was last year.
Great, thanks. And the last question I had was, is one of the reasons for the 3-year project duration is just that they can't work any faster. The amount of work that needs to be done in Bayview means it's going to be a 3-year job.
Yes, and besides the fact too that they have other clients, and so he's got to, it's like anybody who owns their own company. This company, has a number of clients that they need to keep happy, and we happen to be one of them.
Got it. Thank you. Bill, I'll turn it to you now.
Oh, thank you, Matt. And I think you asked a couple of questions I had. So my understanding is that it's going to be 340 grave sites that you're going to, gravestones that you're going to try to improve. And this is going to be over a 3-year period.
Exactly. If I go to this slide, which is the last slide, it's the project schedule. So a third of, so let's imagine a 350. So a third will be done every season. And again, the season for restoration, weather permitting, goes from if you're lucky, from April to the end of October.
Right. And because I know in the past, and you've done great work with the money that we've allocated, but you came in and asked for 10,000 in 17 and then another 10,000 in 21. And here we are asking for, and I was unsure of the amount you were asking. Was it 70 or 90?
I'll go up one slide. So this is, we're asking for $90,000 for 3-year commitment from you all. And so it would be paying $30,000 a year for doing a third of the cemetery over each year for 3 years. So that's like so what is that? So 1, 2, so like 125 gravestones a season.
Okay, yes, I see. And so if we allocated 30,000 for the current upcoming year, how does that impact your agreement with cemetery preservation?
With gravesite preservation, it doesn't in the way that, I think we'll be able to have him for next season. It's so 30,000 would do a third of the cemetery. And then were you thinking then I would reapply for another 30 and reapply again for another 30 to finish Bayview Cemetery? Is that what your thoughts were?
Yes, considering that we have a lot of applications this year and a limited budget.
Yeah, we'll just have to go. I mean, if that's the best, that considering, all the people who do need money from you all this year, that would be wonderful to get the 30,000. And I would just hope that he'll be available, in the 2 years following. The whole point was just trying to get I have a commitment from the gravesite preservation for a 3-year. It would just been nice to tie it in, it's just like, contractor building a house, just tie in the price and tie in the commitment. But I understand, your constraints at the same time. And we always appreciate what you do for us with respect to the city-owned cemeteries.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill, and Christine, thank you.
Christine.
Any other questions from the committee? All right, seeing none. Christine, thank you so much for your time. You're organized, you're well organized as usual, and we really appreciate it. Thanks for all the material that you provided in the application online as well.
Well, thank you all too for all that you do for us, for the city of Gloucester. Okay,
Thank you.
bye-bye now. Bye.
All right, miraculously, we are actually running ahead of schedule, which is the first time we've done this in 3 meetings. So, fortunately, looks like Michael DeCosta from Maritime Gloucester is online. And so I'm going to go ahead and recognize him and promote him to a panelist. So Michael, 10, 20 seconds, you should be with us.
Matt, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Michael, and we can see the doc on your screen as well.
All right, I had to switch. We lost Wi-Fi and I had to switch to my phone on Sunday.
Yep, you sound great. So reception is good.
So wait, that's Mark, not Michael that was talking, right?
Oh, sorry. I was looking at Michael. Mark, we can hear you and see you just fine.
Hey,
All
Mark, I
There he
lost
is.
Wi-Fi in the middle of Christine's presentation as well. So that's why I didn't know the budget numbers.
That's why I didn't walk next door and knock on your door because I knew you lost it too.
It's going to be a theme for me too, because unfortunately, if where I'm at right now, I'm literally on vacation. Came back for this, guys. Can't wait to do it. But where I'm at right now, it's a little sporadic. Last night's test went well, but now if I try to run a PowerPoint, just listening in on the previous conversation that we had with Chris, the audio was bad. So let's see if my audio and everything holds up, and hopefully we can have a good chat. But I'm not going to even try the PowerPoint because it just reduces my system capacity.
All right. And you have the floor. Go ahead, Michael.
Send it to you later if you'd like. It's
Great.
not that thrilling. Thank you so much for your consideration for our for the grant, for a CPA grant for Maritime Gloucester. We are we're looking to do a resiliency project, a historic preservation project on our site that will allow us many more years of use of one of our historic buildings. It's going to be tough to visualize, and I know some of the committee members actually had to come to see the site to be able to visualize it as well. So for those of you that haven't, we have an asphalt walkway and hill that goes down to our wooden pier. That asphalt walkway is kind of an old wharf, and it houses the oldest marine railway in the United States, which you guys were really generous a few years back to give us money to do some renovations on, and now is operational very nicely and has a boat up on it. But the other side of the wharf is one of our buildings. It is a historic building, and we already went through that with the Historic Commission to determine that, and I believe the letter has been submitted. But this this building and this whole area, which is our classrooms and now our new Maritime Science Education Center, is subject to storm surge and eventual sea level rise changes that will significantly impact it. And what we are proposing is to come alongside of our building and bring out a stone wall that protects that area and brings it narrows down the pathway just a little bit. It is on the far side, so it allows all of our work and our historic work to be done on the railway still, but it would be an increased volume of asphalt that would allow for the water to not flow into that low spot, and the wall would be a retaining wall. It would continue all the way out to the wooden pier nearly to the edge of our buildings, and therefore therefore provide us 70 more years plus of protected use. At that time, hopefully there's a larger remediation plan for much of the harbor, but we've learned to do what we can now. So, so there it is. I'm really actually open for questions. I think you guys have all seen the submission, and this is really a pretty easy project. So without the PowerPoint, I don't think there's a lot more to do.
Tell you what, Michael, I think in the materials that you submitted for the project, there were two that were helpful. I think that if everybody hasn't seen them, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
That'd be great.
You can see what I'm talking about. Hold on a second. Let's see. All right, so if you're familiar with where Maritime Gloucester is, the project is to regrade this asphalt that heads down from Harbor Loop down to the wharf, to regrade the asphalt and then to put in this retaining wall next to the buildings to protect them. So that'll raise the asphalt, which, you know, is one level of protection. But then the other one is if you do have a storm surge over it, is to have this retaining wall there to protect it further. Did I say that about right, Michael?
You did. And actually, if you can go back to the previous picture, thank you, Matt. This is exactly what I needed. So the building line there that you see that that raised deck to the right? In talking with our engineers, we can actually come off from the building line right there. If you follow the light all the way down, Matt. No, I'm sorry, to your left and there. Follow that, the brick building part. There you go. If we can come off from that building and out, out towards us as you would on this visual, and then continue the wall there. So we actually do not have to bring the wall all the way up the grade anymore.
Got it.
Yeah, and that's a good.
So that means this would start. The wall would start right about there, I think. No, right here.
No, this plan is just slightly, right there, right where you're, right there.
Yeah, that one right there.
To the left.
Got it right there.
Yep. Go right in there. And, unfortunately, for the budget portion of it, it saves us a little bit of money on the wall. It does not save us a lot of money on the asphalt because we still have to fill into that underneath that that porched area and regrade that. And really the rest of the hill, there wasn't an issue. There wasn't a lot of asphalt that needed to go there anyway.
Okay. Good. I'm going to stop sharing my screen if everybody's okay with that. Thank you.
So some of the trickier parts is that there is a classroom there. And so the wall will have one or two different cutouts in it. And those cutouts will have formed edges that will allow for a caisson to go in. So when we know a storm surge is coming, we can plug them and keep that wall a solid barrier. But when it's no danger, we can also remove them and allow for much easier access to those locations.
Great. All right, committee, we are open for questions. I think that one of the ones that I know we had talked about with Michael after the application was submitted was to confirm that the buildings were recognized by the Gloucester Historic Commission. They did get that. There's a letter in the Neighborly application to that effect. And that Carrie also submitted via email. Bill, you've got your hand up. Go ahead. You're muted, Bill.
I had my phone ringing. That's why I went to mute.
Got it.
I needed someone to grab the phone. I do have a question about that letter because, again, the question about the building. I read the letter, and maybe this is a technicality that is not necessary, but the letter, all it says is it supports Maritime Gloucester's grant. It doesn't say that it's a historic building.
Bob, do you want to grab that one? Because the designation that we did get was that it was historically significant building. It was a historic building for the purposes of this. Oh, Bob Whitmarsh is here and he's muted too, so.
Okay. All right, I am moving myself. Yes, that's true. I think the thing here is that the wall is to protect the historic building. And the thought I had here too is you have a couple of openings in that wall that you can open when you're able to. Is there another way of walking into that space on that lower level to get into that space behind the wall?
Oh, Matt, I didn't mean to do that to you. Bob, do you want me to ask which question first? Which question would you like me to answer?
I guess the part where if the wall is, if there's, you're not using those two openings in the wall, is there another way to get into that area?
Okay, so first of all, yes, Bob, for your question, the wall, there's access to the other areas through a ramp, through indoor doors and doors from the other side of the building. So there are ways to get into there. What there aren't convenient ways to get into and accessible way, I mean, there's handicap accessible ways to do it, but the lower bathrooms and such would be an issue. But it's not so much about the accessibility of the space for those openings as it is the protection that we need from the wall.
Okay.
And then going back to Bill's question, Bill had asked whether or not the buildings itself, that area of our building was deemed historically significant. And Bill, we did a presentation to the Historical Commission and demonstrated the hundreds of years of working waterfront history and that has been on the site. And then this building itself has been in use for going on, we estimate parts of this building have been used and going on for nearly 80 years or more, and other areas of the building that have been renovated for a good 50 years. But the site itself, yes, is deemed to be, I'm sorry, the building itself is deemed to be historic as well. The area, especially the area that's in jeopardy right now. Classroom.
Yeah, that's what I was going to add. Yes, the part of the building that you're trying to protect is the most historic part of the whole property, and this wall will protect the historic structure, which I think is in view of the rising tides that we have in the storms, that you need to have this to protect the building.
If I may, I think we get it here. I think Bill's point, and I would agree with it, is that letter that letter only implies that the Gloucester Historic Commission has identified that building as being historically significant. I mean, instead it supports the application, but it doesn't actually say that building is significant. So I think it's a matter of language. I think we understand, based on what Bob just said, that the Historic Commission does in fact deem it significant, but it might be more, it might be better in the future if we had letters that specifically said, yes, the Gloucester Historic Commission says that this building is historically significant. Is that what you're trying to get at, Bill?
Yes, I when I read the letter, after I reread it, to me, it was just a letter of support like we've gotten from the DPW for other projects of the mayor. It doesn't say this building has been designated as historical building here in the city of Gloucester.
Yeah,
I don't think we have that. And in order to get preservation funds, isn't that something that is needed?
So perhaps what we should do, the letter maybe did not spell it out as well. The vote itself did. And I think what we should do is get the minutes. They weren't ready when we had to have the application in. So if we get the minutes and you can see the actual vote, you would see that it had
that'd
been.
be great.
Yeah.
That would be great, Michael. If you can grab those, that's perfect.
Or maybe,
Thank you, Michael.
I'd actually have to defer to Bob because I don't have them, but I will try to get them through with Bob. And
Yeah, that is correct. We did in fact vote that the property, the building is a historic building. And that is the reason why we supported the application. And I think that it was unfortunate that we did not make that part clear in the letter. And that we could actually amend that letter to correct that oversight, if you wished.
I think that the second sentence of that first paragraph, in my mind, addresses that. But I mean, perhaps if it has to be rewritten, then to have the word designated historically significant, then let's do that. But in my mind, that first paragraph, second sentence addresses.
I don't think we need to rewrite it. I mean, we have a member of the Historic Commission who just said in a public forum here that is in fact what we did. Well, we will have the minutes from the meeting that says what we need to do. So I think we're all set for now.
Whatever we can provide, sure.
That meeting, the minutes would be great, I think.
Comfortable with it, absolutely.
Okay, I've got a couple of quick things, Michael. One is schedule. You've got this work scheduled to happen this fall. You're not going to get our money until next spring. Is the schedule changed?
The timing of it can change. In other words, I was trying to give the timeline.
Yeah.
And so within a series of months, as you know, obviously starting work and working into the fall is a lot easier than it is knowing what kind of weather we're going to have coming out of spring. But that timeline should still be doable, especially the work part of it, which I think can be condensed to 2 months. If we're getting some of that timeline that I put in there was also the permitting and such and plans. So that will probably continue with.
Okay, yeah, the project schedule you've got in the online application is a 2-month project going from mid-September to mid-November. You won't get money from us for that, but you will if it starts anytime from March next year or later.
Okay, and so if we do find out that we're going to get it and we get the money from you in March, April, and early May would work for us, and that would be great. If for some reason there's a weather issue or a problem that would happen there, then we may have to go in. We don't want to close down this whole area during our summer season.
Of course.
Yeah. So as long as there's a little flexibility in that, we'd be able to hit those marks.
Good. And I think Bob asked the same question that I was going to, which is once that wall is up, how do you get into that lower section of the building that you can just walk into the door on now?
So you might have to go back to the drawing, but once the wall is up, there will be, like I said, a cutout section midway down. There will be access then in another section to the classroom doors that are right there. And behind the wall is our handicap accessibility area anyway to the classroom and to this now new lower little plaza area. And so what will happen is if you go all the way down the wharf to the end of the pier area and then basically turn around, you'd be able to go up a ramp and down a ramp if those gates, if you will, if the floodgates were closed. But if you needed to keep the floodgates open, you would still be able to go in through the main building, down into the aquarium, and in through the back doors.
Got it. Thanks.
Yep.
Hey, Bill, are you all done? I don't know if you had another question, but your hand was still up.
Oh, no, I'm done, Matt. Thank you.
Good. That's all I had. Unless, Mark, get your hand up.
Yeah, I just, I may have missed maybe reading something on this one, but, earlier we had talked about doing things on the outside of these buildings and, versus say a roof or windows and things like that. So how does is this wall eligible? Does it?
I don't think that's a question I can answer.
Yeah, I mean,
if I'm answering, yes, absolutely. It's a
right.
About
it's Mark. It's an absolutely fair question, and I would suggest we ask that from people who know a lot more about the statute than we do. I think it's okay. We called it eligible back then, and I can't remember to what. I think I might have asked this from Stuart Saganor at the Community Preservation Coalition then, but I'll either find those notes or we'll ask him now, because it's preservation of the building. It's so.
Yeah, it's
I
an
think
interesting concept. If you think of the concept of sea level rise and we're protecting a building, right? In
Right.
some way, serving it by protecting it from a future event or something. So it's just an interesting thing that I wonder if is really built into those CPC documents, and yet, it's just.
So if you
we have these
look at,
yeah.
this document that I think we all have,
Yes.
if you look at this under rehabilitation and restoration, make capital improvements or extraordinary repairs to make assets functional for intended use, including improvements to comply with federal, state, blah, blah, blah. I think saying making improvements to keep it functional for its intended use. I would think that the wall is protecting it. Also, under preservation definition, it says protect the personal or real property from injury, harm, or destruction. So I would think that that wall is helping in both of those definitions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank
I think I think it's good, but we'll cross that T and.
No, that was good. I remember either reading it or having the discussion, but I wanted to revisit it. Thank you.
All right, unless anybody else has anything else, Michael, thank you for joining us and appreciate the application.
No, thank you so much for your hard work and for doing this. We appreciate the opportunity and all the time that you guys have put into doing this for us.
If we have any more questions, we'll let you know. And if you wouldn't mind doing the legwork and getting us that historical commission minutes, that would be great.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, folks. Have a good night.
Bye.
All right. With that, guys, oops, everybody can still get me up. Good. All right, there we are. We are down to our next agenda item, and that is the vote we'll need to take. I sent an email about a week ago with two housekeeping items, two projects that require a vote from us to close them. One, ironically, is also a Gloucester Maritime Gloucester project, and Michael's still on the line, but I've changed him back to a regular attendee, but we don't need him for this vote. This is a vote to close the project that we had previously to work on the railway restoration. That project was completed last year, and the account still had a small amount of money in it, which Michael submitted a letter on saying that it could be closed. But the city, before they can actually do that, needs us to take a vote to rescind the remaining balance of the award back into the general CPC fund. So I am going to put that up here. Let's see. All right, okay, so I'm going to make a motion. The project, let me just make sure I get the right project name. Sorry, gang, I want to make sure I get this right before we run the motion. Okay. Sorry, I'm having so much trouble finding this. I did send an email to you guys about it. I just want to make sure. They're correct. Guys, did I send you all this, an email on this subject?
Matt, I don't recall seeing it. I saw that you mentioned it in the agenda, but I didn't actually see a note about the closures.
Okay, then let me proceed with a little description on this before we do it. In the 2016 project year, we had a proposal from Maritime Gloucester to do repair work and restoration on the railway itself. Just a moment. Just loading up the email. That project was, I'm trying to find the original amount of the project, so bear with me.
The original award was $62,087.
Thank you, Jamie. So the original award was $62,000 and change in the 2016 funding year. The project was completed. Remaining was a balance of $2,923.80 as the actual expenditures came in under the award budget. And that's been documented and is in the project documents, Google Docs that the city maintains. So that's it. I'm going to make the motion. We can have any questions once I do. I move that the CPC rescinds the remaining balance of the 2016 Maritime Gloucester Heritage Railway Project balance of $2,923.80 and return that to the CPC General Fund, CPA General Fund.
I second that motion.
Motion has been made and seconded. Committee, do you have any questions about this one?
Can I make one comment?
Yes, please.
So I don't know where it was originally funded from. So it can't necessarily roll back to the CPA general fund. It might have to go back to the original line from which it was funded.
Fair point. I'm going to rescind that motion and make a new motion. I move that the remaining balance of the 2016 Maritime Gloucester Heritage Railway Project in the amount of $2,923.80 be returned to the appropriate fund maintained by the city of Gloucester.
Second that motion.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Harry?
Yeah, I thought that there was a need to actually close this project so that you could move forward.
The money has to be rescinded before the project has been closed. Do I have that correct, Jamie?
Yes, that is correct.
Very good. Any other questions? Hearing none, we will take a roll call vote. Hank?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Kerry?
Yes.
Harry, sorry. I think I heard yeses from both of you. Bob?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Matt? Yes. Motion passes unanimously. Similarly, there is another project. Restored, or excuse me, rescinded. Now this one is quite a bit older. It was for the Gloucester Writers Center project, and the balance remaining in that account is 67 cents. I'm going to make the motion, and hopefully someone will second it. I move that the remaining balance of 67 cents in the Gloucester Writers Center project be rescinded to the appropriate fund by the city of Gloucester.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Would anybody like to know anything more about this 67 cents?
67 cents.
Very good. Hearing no questions and discussion, we'll have a roll call vote. Hank?
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Harry,
Yes.
Carrie,
Yes.
Bob, and Mark,
Yes.
and Matt. Yes, motion passes unanimously. Thank you, everybody, for putting up with my lack of organization. I'm trying to get the details on that one. All right, that leaves us to administrative updates. I do actually have two here. Well, only one. I sent an email, I think today or yesterday, noting that the state legislator had voted on allocating $20 million from their general surplus to the CPC trust fund. So I just want to make sure that everybody saw that. That's good news for CPC projects. It still requires the governor to vote on that, but that was all spelled out in that email. Good reading if you haven't seen it. And that's the only administrative update I have tonight. Anybody else have any? Jamie, you have your hand up. And there you go.
I would like to update everyone that the Grants Division has hired a new senior project manager, Zoe Venetsinakos, who is here with us, and I have promoted her to a panelist. We are going to start the process of transitioning the CPA administration over to Zoe. So I'm still around. I'll still be doing minutes for a couple more meetings, but we are really excited to have her on our team. So I asked her to be in attendance tonight and say hi to all of you, if she would. But yeah, she's great so far. She's really excited and eager and smart. And so I think she's going to be a great fit for you all because you are all those same things too.
Welcome, Zoe.
Welcome, Zoe.
Yes, welcome.
Oh, hi, everyone. It's very nice to meet everyone. I just wanted to say how excited I am to start working alongside this committee. So thank you.
Well, we're excited to have you, Zoe. You have big shoes to fill. Jamie's been wonderful for us for a long time. I'd like to say, Jamie, I'm grateful that you had to pronounce Venetsinakos, so I will never get it wrong, assuming that Jamie got it right, Zoe. Excellent. Well, welcome, and we'll look forward to seeing you at future meetings. Great, that's administrative updates. Thanks for catching that one, Jamie. I apologize, I didn't do it myself. Okay, any other administrative updates? Harry, you got your hand up.
Yes, I just, since I wasn't here for the last distribution, how is that 20 million whacked up? Is that whacked up to the various organizations by virtue of their population, or how do you know how that's done?
I do. It's pretty simple math. Each municipality who adopts the CPA also adopts how large the surcharge they're going to put on that city or town's real estate bills. So in any given calendar year, depending on what their real estate bill revenues are and what their amount is, let's say Gloucester collected $500,000 and Rockport collected $1 million, and that was part of $100 million collected locally by towns and cities all over the state. All the state does is they take their registry of deeds money and they give each town a percentage that's according to that. So I'm not explaining that very well, but it's all based on how much money we raise locally.
So Matt, if Gloucester raised 2% of the entire state fund, they would get 2% of the 20 million.
That's exactly right. And if we raised 1/10 of that, then we would get 1/10 of a percent. That's what we get out of the fund as well.
Do you know what historically we've raised?
Yeah, actually, Harry, last year, this was similar last year. I'll send you a spreadsheet. I'll send it to everybody. I may have last year too, but you weren't here then, Harry. That shows for the previous fiscal year, what each city and town in the Commonwealth raised, what their registry of deeds percentage was, and also, or amount was that they got, and also what amount they got from the state surplus that was added to the registry of deeds trust fund.
I guess the whole underlying question is, how much do you think we're going to get?
Well, hold on a second, because I actually have what we got last year. Last year, we raised $734,000 last year, and we got 322 from the state for a total of 40. So the state match was 43.8%. This year, the coalition estimates that we're going to be right around 40. That's up significantly from the more recent years. For several years running, 2017, 18, and 19, the total match from the state was under 20%. And it had been dwindling with more and more towns joining the CPA. So the state increased the amount of the transaction amount that came off of each registry of deeds transactions that went to the CPA trust fund. And then the coalition and many legislatures lobbied for, more of any state surplus coming into the CPA trust fund as well. So that's why it bounced back up to 31% in 2020, 31% in 21, and last year 43.8%.
So one last question. If and when the governor signs this, he's got to sign it within 10 days or make revisions to it.
Correct.
To what period will that money be applicable?
So that's a great segue into our agenda for our next meeting.
Okay, I'll see you then.
Yeah. So, but the short story is that we won't actually get that money until November. I mean, I actually think that the money transfers from the state to us in November. It might be a little bit later, but we're not actively working to distribute that money until next year. We're working off of the money that we got last year. And with that, unless there's any other questions on administrative updates, we will proceed to our next meeting. Our next meeting is scheduled for August 9th. That's 3 weeks from tonight. We will have a special guest at that meeting, which is Kenny Costa, the city auditor. And Kenny is going to be with us to, number one, tell us how much money we have available to us. Number two, advise us on how much of that money we should judiciously allocate to the projects in front of us, as opposed to how much of that money we should leave untouched for possible usages in off-cycle applications that may come up. That's item one in the agenda. Item two will be to organize how we're going to make our decisions with these 15 applications in front of us. I will send more information before that meeting on how we'll start that process. This is not a dictate, it's more of an idea about how we'll start that process. It's a complex one this year because we've got so many projects and we've got more requests than we have funds. So I've got some ideas about that. I welcome everybody else's, and we will, that'll be the second part of our August 9th agenda.
And Matt, a suggestion, and if you have time, you put out a great spreadsheet a while back with all the projects and the total requested amount and totals. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of that changed as we went through the discussion of the last three meetings. Could you update that spreadsheet?
Of course.
That would be great.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's almost done. There was a couple of things tonight that I need to add to it. So yes, that will be definitely ready before we start working on August 9th. I'll try to get that done this week.
And then Jamie, I know last year in the May timeframe, you handed out some documents that showed the CPC. Is that something that we'll cover with Kenny, or is that something that we should have for that meeting?
So are you talking about like the budget documents that outline what was in each category? So that's likely something Kenny will be able to update you on.
Okay.
I'm certainly happy to make sure that we're using the same kind of format to talk about the funding this year and that everyone is provided with that documentation.
Yeah, I know that was handy as a new member last year where it showed the different allocations for, historic preservation, affordable housing, and then the projects that we had that was still getting funded.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh,
Correct.
great. Thank you.
Harry, your hand is up.
No, that shouldn't be up.
Oh, gotcha. Hank, your hand is up.
Yeah, I'm not going to be in town for the next meeting. I'm going to be driving back from Seattle, Washington. You'll have to excuse me from being in attendance here. I should be back for if we're going to have a second meeting in August. I'll probably be back in time for that.
Very good. All right.
Drive safely, Hank.
Yeah. All right. If there's nothing further,
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
motion to adjourn has been made and seconded. We're gonna just have a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against, say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Everyone, thank you for these 3 meetings. This take a lot of time and appreciate getting through them. We'll see you all in 3 weeks and distribute a bit more information before we get there. Thanks a lot.
All right, thank you, Matt. Enjoy the
Good night,
walk.
everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.